Welcome to Relate to Elevate, the show where we focus on personal and business relationships and how to improve them.
That's just on the beat.
Welcome to Relate to Elevate, the show where we focus on personal and business relationships and how to improve them. My name is Steven, one of the co-hosts to the podcast. Wanted to first of all start by saying sorry for not actually doing any podcasts for a while. We've been doing some variety of different things. First off, we're at a brand new studio. We'd like to thank our new facility, which is VentureX, and for inviting us to be able to film and do our podcast live here. If you're looking for office space or anything of that nature, simply go to venturexnorthwest.com. So again, it's been a while since we've done a podcast. I think the last time we did a podcast was maybe in December. And, a lot of things has changed. Unfortunately, we lost one of our hosts, Mr. Christian Montalvo. He actually went to some other things, and we wish him all the luck in his new endeavors. He obviously will be missed, but we wish him all the greatest. We also had some prior tragedies, I would say, in my life. And I recently had a loss. My fearless companion, Bentley, my little dog that was my sidekick. Unfortunately, he passed away not too long ago. And we had another passing. Matter of fact, this episode is going to be a little bit different. It's actually going to be a little bit more real than we do typically. It's going to have a little bit more of a somber or a little bit sad message. But we hope that just like anything that we do provide you, that you get content, that you can identify with some of our examples, that we can possibly steer you in the right direction and identify with us. And at the end of the day, know that you're not any different than us. One thing that we want to talk about is something that happened to me yesterday. It's something that you really can't ever explain. You can't ever plan for. You can't ever do anything for it. It just happens all suddenly. And that's actually losing someone very close to you suddenly. And like I said, I wasn't planning to do this episode. But one thing I will say about this podcast is that what is given to me is kind of therapeutic. So I'm hoping that by discussing this, number one, it gives me some closure, or at least understanding. And then number two, for anybody that's out there that's in the same position as we are, or as I am, that maybe it gives them clarity. Well, yesterday, just to kind of go full circle, I received a phone call, I would say about 9:30. Phone call was showed on my caller ID that it was my stepmom, which I thought was weird. And picked up the phone, and a male voice answered, which I thought was even more weird. And that male voice talked about that he was with the Harris County Sheriff's Department. So I didn't know what that was all about. I thought maybe my father got into some disagreement or something happened. As the sheriff was kind of just going off and doing his thing, he said that he usually doesn't call this and just making delays. And I'm like, just get to the point. And his point was, he said that my father had fallen in the bathroom, and he said that he didn't make it. Now, my first inclination, like, what do you mean he didn't make it? Did he break his hip? You didn't make the bathroom? Like, I don't understand what you mean. And he went a little bit further, and the sheriff said, "You didn't make it." And usually, when people say that, especially in the medical field, they mean that they provided CPR, they did all that stuff, and the person died. So that was exactly what my next statement was. What do you mean? You make it? He's dead? And the sheriff said, yeah. That hit like a brick because my father was mobile. He was fine. He had some medical issues, just like most of us. But there was no issue. There was no reason, justifiable reason, why he should have died. As this processed through my head, I didn't know what to say. Immediately hung up with the sheriff. And it was just something that just came on me, and I couldn't believe it. As I prefaced a little bit earlier, my dog just died probably about, I don't know, 60 days ago, which is also a very difficult thing to withstand because that was like my little boy. But this was a call that, it's just my whole entire world, permanently, before and after. My father was gone, just like that. An accident. No warning, no goodbye. Now, I immediately know because he's married and my parents are divorced, and I have a young brother. And I knew that I had to be there for them. But it's difficult. I can't even process what's going on through my head. I honestly just tried to keep moving, prevent myself from going in, from hyperventilating, because this thing just hit me. And after I processed it, I immediately looked at my phone, and I remember him messaging me. And my father would always message me these quirky little statements every day without fail. And the statement was, everything okay? And sometimes it would piss the fuck out of me that he would send that because I'm like busy and I want to see that. But I'd always reply. And for whatever reasons, I was scared that maybe I didn't reply that day. And did I just forget about him? And then that would regret would set in. When people die, we usually plan for it. We usually think it's going to be when they get old. Some people have closure and talk with their loved ones and kind of get through all those little things that they want to talk about. And when the person dies suddenly, you don't have that yet. Fortunately, I have a belief that whatever's on my mind or whatever that's the burden that's carrying me, I like to discuss it right then and there. And sometimes it's a little bit rash. And sometimes people don't know what to say. But I'd rather get it out right in the air because you just never know. You never know if you're going to have that chance to discuss things with them. You never know if you're going to be able to say that thing. And it's just crazy. Fortunately, my father and I, we had that moment where we had that come to Jesus meeting where there were some things that he did that I just didn't like. And as a child, I just kind of put up with it. And as an adult, I refused to. And we had that conversation. We hashed out a whole bunch of things. And my father and I mended the bond that we had. And he had an understanding who I was as a man. I had an understanding of maybe some of the reasons why he did what he did. My father was great, just like anybody else, made mistakes, wasn't perfect, but like everybody else, he tried. He taught a lot of values in me. He was definitely a person that taught me my business side. He did a lot of things for me. He pushed me almost too much, but he instilled the work ethic I have. And he always taught me to always be the best at whatever I do. And I take that to the ultimate level. And I know that. But there were some negative things. And, I address those things because, again, in my life, I see that sometimes you just never know what's going to happen. And it's better to get it off right then and there because at least the person knows where you stand. I'm not suggesting everybody can do this because it takes a little bit of a certain type of maturity for individuals to discuss it. And it can be very hard for individuals to address the situation if they're not confident how they feel. And it can turn into an argument. I mean, my father and I argued about things, words were said, but at the end of the day, we both came to an understanding. And when I reflect that, I didn't have that chance to ask him those questions at the bedside, like, good you think in the hospital when they're about to die. I didn't have that time to plan and pre-plan and say goodbye because it just happened. Fortunately, my father and I had a very close bond that we bended over the time period. And probably recently, my father has been more involved in my life than he ever has, except when I was a child. We both asked for forgiveness from each other. And we told each other we'd be there for each other. And unlike before, he did. And I, on the other hand, made sure that I was 100% honest with him. You know, the things that we talk about here is really about just communicating with individuals. And communication is so essential because words can be misconstrued. You can use the wrong tone. You can say things out of anger that hurt people. And the words that you use to that other person can either elevate them or destroy them. And my father was not a very good use. Sometimes the words that he used weren't the most appropriate ones, and they hurt. But I addressed that. And I was able to look at him in the eye, and he knew where I stood, excuse me. He knew what bothered me. He knew what he did that maybe I didn't like. And not many people get that chance to do that. One thing that I learned about this whole experience is you gotta live life to the fullest. You've got to live in the present. And whatever you do it immediately. I have a friend that, nice girlfriend that we've talked about several times on several episodes that has been in my life for several years. Hasn't always been great, but there was lots of lessons that I did or that I developed from some of her direction. And when this happened and I got the phone call from my father, I didn't know who to call. This was someone that's occupied 5 years of my life. That's all I know. I called and she answered the phone and I immediately tell her what happened. And what can she say? How much? So, sorry. But what I realized is that one thing, the thing is that I thought that she wasn't there for me or the statements that I made to her, that she didn't do much for me. I started to realize that wasn't true. Because at the most critical times, when I needed somebody, I just needed her to listen. She was there. She was the person that actually answered the phone when my dog died, and I had nobody to call there. And she answered the phone, listened to me, tried to give me words of encouragement, but she was there. So throughout the things, leading up to this week, her and I were supposed to meet. And she said she wanted to talk about some stuff that was going on between us. And at that point, I was like, I can't risk something happening to her or something happening to me. And I will never know what she had to say. Now, kind of odd because obviously my father just died and I need to go to Houston. But she's a priority too. It's the way shit's been going last couple of weeks. Who fucking knows if I was gonna be able to see her. So I made that choice. You go. And we talked about a lot of stuff. Talked about some of her things. We talked about some of her new experiences that she's having, some of the issues that she's having with her new interests. Wasn't all flowers, but you know what? She was there for me. So I wanted to be there for her. I try to give her unbiased opinions, but being honest, I was very jealous. I mean, I wanted it to be me with her. What? The fact that she depended on me and on my point of view, the fact that she unloaded to me and was being honest, I hope. And the fact that I could help her from an outside looking in and show her the patterns, just like I identified my patterns. And at the end of the day, no matter if we identify the patterns, we know what's going on. As I told her, what are you going to do about it? Because these patterns are going to get progressively worse, just like they did in our relationship. Because in our case, I accepted them, which was wrong. There's a lot of things that I thought maybe I was doing right, but that are minor things. But I learned that I contributed to certain things that may have ended the relationship between her and I. Again, when you're based on the moment to reflect on your behaviors and you think about everything that's going on and you wonder, will I ever see this person again? I knew I had to say sorry. And I knew I had to apologize because she needed to know that I knew that I made a mistake. Whether it mattered, whether she cared, didn't matter. But I needed to get it off my chest. Those moments that I spent with her, momentarily forgot about what She took me away to a different place where I was okay. Sad reality is I had to get to Houston. And although I wanted to spend more time with her, she knew that I couldn't. So went to Houston and saw my family. I was greeted by my stepmom there at the door, and she's just crying. Now, I wasn't raised with her, but I would see her often when I'd go visit my father, and she was a very nice soul. The bad thing about it is that our communication between each other is not that good. She speaks Spanish. I'm not that good at Spanish. I tell her some words probably I didn't translate or, excuse me, conjugate the verbs correctly, but she knows I tried. And at that time, when I walked in, all I could do was be quiet and hold her and give her a hug and tell her thank you for taking care of my father. As we stood there, probably for about 5 minutes, it was just straight silence. And then I knew I had to go help my brother. My brother is quite significantly younger than me. And again, I didn't grow up with him, but he's always tried to be that brother, call hey me bro and stuff like that, which is really weird for me. But this time I had to be there. I go upstairs, where he was at, give him a hug too. And I told him that I would never let them be, or they were not going to handle this alone, that I was there. Now, there was people there, friends of the family, of their family. I had no idea who they are, but they all came together to help our family deal with this. Again, people react differently. Some people come from a position of hate. Some people come from a position of regret. But there is no right way to deal with this. And honestly, I'm still trying to do my best. I'm doing this podcast for one thing, because when I started this with Christian, I told my father, and he was the heaviest critique of all of us. But one thing that he did do, he always supported me. He watched the podcast, he critique, tell me what I didn't see correctly, comment on the audio or what have you. But at least I knew that he watched it. And that meant a lot to me. And talking to my brother and saying things about the studio that we just completed. And my brother saying, oh, my father had told him. It meant the world to me. Because I know whatever I did mattered to him. And the last conversation we had, there was something project that I had completed or that I hadn't completed, but it was a success before. And he asked me, why haven't I done it again? And I told him some issues that we were having. He's like, you need to do it. And I discussed this with my team to see if it was a viable product. And now I'm at a crossroads. Do I do it to carry on his legacy? Because that's what he wanted. That's what he said. I don't know. I don't know. Right down in scramble mode because I don't know whether he had his affairs in order. I don't know whether things were taken care of. I don't know a lot of stuff. And the internet does my family. I wish there was a lesson at this point. I wish I could tell you, hey, you need to do X, Y, and Z. Things that I've taken a look into my life, but I don't know if there's a right way to go. I don't know if there's a right process. It's super tough. And I know there's a lot of people that have done and dealt with this, but I never thought that I would be one. They say that if they die early, the pain and suffering or whatever all that stuff is won't be there. They're in a better place, all that good stuff. That doesn't take away from the fact that those little quirky messages, those text messages that I get, when he would say, everything okay? That I will never get that again from him. And that little text message that would annoy me is probably going to be one of the things that I miss. So, my advice is cherish every moment with your loved one. Don't take anything for granted. Always tell them that you appreciate them. And always live in the now. Your job, that phone call, text message, whoever you're fighting with that day, all can wait with whoever you're spending that time with because you don't know if you'll ever see them again. I told my ex that this is why I do certain things because of certain experiences in my life where things changed. And I wasn't able to make a sorry or I wasn't able to say or adjust things. And I learned this several years ago. That's why I always, when I'm working on a project, I don't stop until it's finished. People look at me like a weird on that stuff. That's the way I do things. And I do it for my clients. I do it for myself because if I'm working at it right then and there, I leave, something happens to me, that client's going to not have what they need. So I always finish. I don't stop until it's complete. Another thing I've always done or recently done is I don't let things build up. If something happens, they've done something wrong to me, I do all I can to address it right then and there. People don't like it. I'm not doing it for them. I'm doing it for my peace of mind. And it takes away the stress. And in this case, there is no, I wish if I could only have had one last moment, if I could have only asked them this, if I could only ask them that, because they did it. Will I miss them? Are there some things that I'm going to miss in a wish? Of course. But the things that weighed heavy on my chest, the decisions that were made, things I just didn't like, or things that I just had to kill, I did. So, Dad, I know you're always were proud of me and all the things I did. I know you taught me, you would say to be a survivor. You would tell me to be the best. Of course, I took that to the extreme, but I always do the best. Dad, this isn't easy. It's not easy to grasp that I'll never get a message from you again. But I want to tell you, thank you for being my father, for doing all you could for me, and for making time for me and trying to teach me every single guidance that you had. Again, Dad, I know you said you weren't perfect, but neither am I. So I want you to know, as you're hopefully looking down on me and seeing how I'm making this, you prepared me for this. All the yelling, all the lessons, you prepared me to deal with this as best I can. And I promise to instill those lessons in my brother as well. And please know I got this, Dad, because that's what you taught me. Step up to the fucking plate and take over. Thank you for teaching me those things. I hope Bentley found you up there. I hope you're hanging out. And know that I got this covered. I will miss you forever. But you meant a lot to me, Dad. And your apologies in that conversation we had, you never had to apologize. But thank you anyway. I just want to tell you, as a listener, whatever you do, if you have a loved one that's close to you, make sure you cherish them. And make sure you tell them that they are. I'm going to wrap this up by saying thank you again. I hope this helps you. Sorry for bringing you into my depressive world, but this is what this is about. This is why we started this podcast, to shed some light on our personal experiences and how we dealt with them, possibly how you could relate to Elevate. Thank you again. My name is Steven. You have a great day.